Welcome to the Two Guys All Things Tech podcast. I'm co-host Kevin Deveji.
And I'm Tony Lucidi, co-host.
Thank you very much for connecting. Yes. How are you, Anthony?
All right, not too bad.
How is the week going so far?
The audience has no idea what we just went through for the last 45 minutes. We're tech guys, and yet technology was really getting under our nerves.
Well, things happen.
It's bad when two tech guys can't figure this out.
Well, all it takes is just you need to restart the computer. That's it. Just restart. There is a joke. So bunch of engineers they take a ride, right? They drive, and then the car just breaks down. They pull over, and then everyone's trying to do some. The electronic engineer comes trying to check the cables, and the civil engineer comes trying to check things. The mechanical engineer comes trying to check the mechanical part of the car. Nothing is working, and then the computer engineer comes in, and then he's like, "Well, restart the engine." That's all it takes. So.
Oh man, I'm so glad this wasn't recorded. Something as simple as microphones and speakers, and we were like, this isn't working. This isn't going right. Oh my gosh. Yes. Anyway, so I'm so glad we got it up and running because
yes.
This would have been a no.
Always good. All right. No worries. All right. So what do we have on the agenda today?
So we got episode 5, the global AI race. I kind of like this one. Regulate or compete. So basically, this is the last of the series. And this particular one is talking about globalization, right? So do we regulate with our global partners, or do we compete against our global partners? Now, basically, my argument's always going to be, from a global argument standpoint, it's going to be China, right? I'm going to be referencing mostly China because that's where I see our biggest competitor would be, and also the biggest antagonist with deepfake and other things. So I'm sure there's Russia and there's a bunch of others too. But I think for today's conversation, I'm for on the con side of it. I'm going to be more or less talking about China. So, just tell me, why do you think we should regulate along with China?
We shouldn't. You said China. I'm off. Well, until now we talk about. I'm gonna regulate China. It's China.
Have a great day.
They're gonna eat our lunch. No doubt.
All right. So I'm gonna come from a standpoint of China. Let's let you talk about.
I'm not touching China.
Okay.
If it is like us versus China, then I'm gonna say don't regulate at all. I mean, if it is the case, like that's where we're going.
But I will tell you that China has been willing to work with us on things like pollution, ecology. So I do think you could have the potential to regulate with them, right? Because I looked up on Wikipedia today, just did some basic China stuff, and they themselves are implementing their own style of regulations. To what level, obviously we're never going to know. But it looks like they are doing something similar. What I found interesting is, and I'm sure just AI in general, they've been doing this since the late 1970s. If you think of that, that's what, 35 years?
Yeah, a long time.
That's a long time to develop this stuff. And it basically goes on to say that, in the beginning, they didn't have many AI partners, and they didn't have the technology. So of course, what did they do? They brought people in, as China does, basically taps you on the forehead and says, you are now an AI guy, go learn AI type of thing. But I found something interesting that Wikipedia did. And remember, Wikipedia is way less aggressive, so it's just going to state something. But one of the things that caught my eye, I'm going to read the line to you. China's rapid AI development has significantly impacted Chinese society in many areas, including the socioeconomic, military, intelligence, and political sphere. And here, somewhere in here, it talked about how 2023 China released its interim measures for the administration of generative artificial intelligence services, a draft proposal on basic generative AI services safety requirements, including specifications for data collection, model training was issued in October of 2023. So back in 2023, they were already thinking about this. I did note something in here. They were also using it for video. So, I think I think China's become the premier deep fake as far as AI videos go.
Oh yeah.
Trying to get President Trump saying something that they know will generate feedback and more diversion in our country. But they at least are smart enough to see that since 2023, right? And I think that's ahead of our curve, to be honest with you. So okay. So we'll leave China on the back seat.
Okay.
So let's say we have Russia, we have India, right? I mean, those are all big number countries where they can throw bodies at it, and India is becoming a very big tech hub. Hyderabad is another one of the big areas where a lot of these companies are going into. A lot of Microsoft and other companies they have their own buildings in there. They're not just third-partying it anymore. They have their own employees in those areas too. So let's talk about that. All right, so regulation with them. So give me a reason why the regulating with the rest of the world is something that you see as a positive.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to utilize it to fight against crime, money laundering, human trafficking, right? Yeah, things like that. So these are really global threats in a way, and that requires.
That's interesting. You just hit on target with an emotional conversation with people who are against. United States needs to be number one in everything. So let's get our technology. But I do like that, right? So if you can apply AI to help prevent human trafficking.
Yeah,
that would be that's a good argument for a use for it globally.
Absolutely. So utilizing AI to mispresent certain job opportunities, for example. So there was that case I was watching in news. So they actually lure people to work in the country. I can't remember what country was in Asia. I like to say, I can't really name the country, I'm not really sure. But then they lure people, right? They mispresent what type of job they're going to be doing. But the moment that they go, they take their passports away, they're stuck. They don't let them leave. So in this type of situations where they actually mislead people by utilizing AI and the technology, there, of course, this type of fighting this type of crimes.
So the
information and cooperation is important.
They're using the AI to lure people in?
Yes. So the content of the work, what they're going to be doing, their position, that company, and so on. Of course, they're talking about high pace, right? That's one of the things that they really, make it attractive for those people. But the goal is hideous at the end of the day.
Right.
But the people don't know.
Here's one of the things that I have as an issue. So in reading this Wikipedia article, they also talked about China coming up with its own LLM,
Okay.
large language model, right? So India comes up with theirs, China comes up with theirs. You know, if you're going to regulate across the board, think about the nightmare that would be when everybody's got their own large
It is
language.
hard. It is hard. I mean, especially so. I mean, each country has its own structure in a way,
Right.
and
Mhm.
their own priorities. So, like in the case of China, for example, it's pretty centralized, right? They have one app called WeChat. They do everything on WeChat. They monitor everybody. They listen to everybody. Everyone knows that it's no secret, right?
Right.
But it's unfair to United States because we have laws and regulations and freedom, um, compared to China, way more freedom, of course, no doubt about it. And then they can use AI in their own way while we are trying to put some regulations in our own way. Right?
Well, that was going to be one of my cons too, right? I mean,
Mhm.
how do you regulate it, right? They're not going to let people. They're not going to let regulators come in. They've never let people come in, so they're not going to give us the code base.
Mhm.
So there is really, if we are going to regulate with the world, it's going to be a very small volume of regulation.
Mhm.
I think the better idea is what you have mentioned. You know, let's solve global problems
Mhm.
with our combined AI efforts. But this particular topic is more about regulating. So,
Mhm.
one of my other fears is you lose your leadership, right? So if like I've been saying this entire series, regulation is going to slow things down. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
now dealing with other countries, that's going to slow stuff down.
That's true.
I think everybody's going to have their wink, wink. Yes, I'm abiding, but I don't think anybody's going to allow. Okay, well, give me an auditor to check this out, right? So
Mhm.
China's going to give you one of China's auditors. United States is going to have its own internal auditors, and so my question to you becomes: is it even worth? I mean, is it even viable? In other words, to sit here for you and I to speculate about global regulation, do you think it's even viable given the current global situation we got?
Nowadays, it's hard to make it work. Really.
Yeah, yeah. To your point though, I don't think it should dismiss the conversation, but I
Mhm.
think like every other conversation we have with some of these countries, you have these two diplomats. So we assign somebody, they assign somebody, and it's basically these two people just talking to one another and really not getting to the crux, and then utilizing. Oh well, we need diplomacy, we need this stuff, and then things like well, China will say, well, cut back the tariffs and I'll give you some AI regulations, and then it becomes this whole political BS in the background, and it just gets jarbled, in my opinion. Um, and I can't, in my head, see it working. I would love to have it, but I think working together on a globe. I saw this in some video saying that if aliens ever came to the world, it would dramatically change how we see each other in the political world, right? Because then we're all going to combine to a common enemy, right? So if I get an alien race now trying to come down to Earth and create havoc and try to occupy Earth, you'd be amazed at how fast people start talking and collaborating in a more efficient manner, right? But
Mhm.
you know, and I
You
think
become one. Yes.
I think given AI's possibilities, I think the problem is everybody's trying to run to be on first base. Everybody's trying to be the leader,
Mhm.
including the United States, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we may join in some regulatory thing, but we could also have. I mean, a government is. I can guarantee you, and you can guarantee me too, that the government has its own AI strategy going on, and they're doing things under classified. So
Yep.
it's
Yep.
so I where do you put it, right? Do we say we're going to regulate just businesses, how they're utilizing AI, how they do, because this article in Wikipedia talked about that's what they were doing, data, proper way to collect data, proper way to use data, and things like that. So
Yeah, but nevertheless, there can be some common grounds. Protecting children,
yes,
cooperating against human trafficking, money laundering, things like that may be a common ground. That's what I'm
but isn't China and
thinking.
Asia kind of heavy on the human trafficking as well, though? I mean, if we try to,
Yeah, I mean, these are tough conversations, really. Yeah, it's hard
they are. No, they are, and
yeah.
That's why I wanted to put this one on the end, because this is a really, it's a tough conversation to have,
Yeah.
because you and I will both agree. Your first 5 seconds was, no, don't bring China into this because I'll lose my mind. I can't be pro on this. I'm supposed to be the pro guy. I can't find anything. Why I would want to work with them on anything based on their history. So
Yeah, because the way that they are developing, the way that they are getting positioned is very strong, very competitive against United States. So when it comes to that,
yeah, I was thinking about it. If we look at COVID, right, that was a common enemy, and yet that fell apart like you wouldn't believe, right? As soon as it hit out, very, very little information coming through, and all of a sudden now it starts to come through, and then it's more of, oh, don't worry, it's isolated to and then you look at some of the documentaries, and it's like when they were saying, don't worry, it was a massive problem, right? So it took off Wuhan, right? So they basically closed the gates of Wuhan and said, just don't let these people out. So,
and then they were closed for a long time.
Correct.
As a country, they just shut it down. It's because of the central country, right? Just make the decisions centrally.
So I say that because I'm like, well, that was a common enemy, like the aliens that I talked about, and yet, as countries, we kind of failed it. So let me ask you another question then, if we think about this. Could political change internal in the U.S. make that more right? Because whether you got right wing, left wing, let's say we go with a more liberal mindset, would that even work, right? So right now we got, highly conservative individuals, and, their trust for China is zero, right? Listen, I'm not in that world, but from what I've seen, I don't blame them. But could political differences, political change in either country make a difference?
Well, in the case of US, no. So because it always hits to the part of the conversation in terms of national security. So that's not going to change anything whether they're talking about left or right. That's a common concern.
Look at what we did with TikTok, right? I mean, that's just am I wrong? Kevin's like, you cannot bring that up, Anthony. No, but if you think about it, right? I mean, TikTok comes along, they got a huge base. All of a sudden,
next subject.
Next.
Next. What is next?
You got to get one of those.
I'm here to debate.
I just don't want to debate subjects I can't debate. Okay, I want to debate.
You put a national security card. All bets are off. Anything goes. But to your point, I mean, when it comes to international cooperation and regulating AI and utilizing AI, my thinking will be just finding some common ground, really, where it's possible, where it's practical, not being naive, but where it's practical.
So here's another thing that I kind of in the back of my head.
Do you use TikTok often?
Say it again.
Are you familiar with TikTok?
No,
Yeah. So
I swallowed the pill like everybody else. Once they said, I got a technology business. Once they said, lies and things like that, I'm like, well, I can't afford, right? I can't afford to be on a platform that could potentially cause harm to myself or any of my clients based on my recommendations. So
I'll give you on it. I was gonna say one thing. That's why I ask. I had a meeting with one of our channel partners, right? So we were chatting, and then he's like, "Well, I use TikTok," and then he asked me if I'm using it. I said, "I mean, I exist on TikTok, but I don't really use it. Just
Right.
not that active, not like YouTube." And he's like, "Well, I use it every single day." I said, "How'd you do that?" And he's like, "Well, I don't really use it, but I use it. I mean, like, what do you mean?" So he turned on the AI function of TikTok. TikTok creates videos for him using his face, his voice,
No
his
way.
content, and he keeps talking all day long. And he's like, and I'm like, "Do you know what you are broadcasting?" He's like, "I have no idea, but it's me. I'm talking."
You know,
So I was like, "Okay, that's Nishpi." So this is where we are, right? So I'm go figure.
are we really serious? Because I see a lot of ads.
I have a
In the
secret.
US.
I have a secret to share. It's not me actually. It's my AI. You're not talking to me. You're talking to my AI. It's so scary. It's so
I'm
scary.
actually sitting in my pajamas watching a TV show right now.
Me,
I'm just
not really me.
monitoring it. I'm just
Looks like
monitoring
me.
my avatar to make sure it doesn't make a big mistake. But other than that, don't. You're doing great. Yeah, just talk to my avatar.
Between you and me, you know.
Well, in all honesty, too, I thought TikTok was a much younger audience. My clients aren't in that world. My son does use it to promote his business, and he's highly successful because he can promote it through TikTok. So I'm not on that platform. So here's another real bad thing I thought about. This is almost moronic in nature. So we have this AI, and we're buying computers and things like that. We're really trying to beef them up. We're trying to get into quantum processing and all that. Where is the majority of chipsets made?
Chips are made in Taiwan.
Correct. So are we even concerned about that? Let's ship the U.S. chipsets that'll be AI negative, meaning it'll slow it down. Let's not give them the computing power they're looking for. We'll keep the real heavy duty ones so we can advance our AI. And these people, because we're not manufacturing here, especially quantum, right? So we're still it's still in a developmental, I'll call design and developmental phase. But you start to look at stuff, and it's like, okay, so let's regulate. Well, then, are you going to regulate the chipsets? Are you going to regulate the servers coming across? I don't know. But it does, again, it's all of this stuff combined is what makes the regulations almost near impossible. I don't think it's possible, because everywhere you look, and I don't think we're looking at it from that perspective either. Do all of these politicians, meet one another and just do a wink, wink? Like, yeah, I won't bother you, you don't bother me, type of thing. When I saw the what did they call that 0 Day HBO documentary, where they were talking about how the Stuxnet virus got throughout the world, and in the end, it was almost like they showed a couple of government officials, and they were more or less saying, we agreed, don't touch my stuff, I won't touch yours, type of thing.
Yes.
And I'm like, that's not a resolution.
No.
You're trusting that China, because if you look at our infrastructure, right, our energy grid, that's old 30-year technology. Even if you put a front end on it, right, to sort of build the security, it's still kind of cheesy unless you get new stuff. And I'm like, so they just agreed not to do that? I think it's bull. I think they are looking to do it, because the moment they do it, they bring us to our knees, and then, makes life easier for them.
No,
So all it is, and it does point to what I was going to say about regulation, right? We can all wink, wink. We can sit here and shake hands and sign a document that says we're going to do this all, but unless you can do the oversight, what good is it?
That's true. And of course, we don't know the details, but as much as we see in news, so one day we sell some NVIDIA chips to China, right? We allow NVIDIA to sell to China. A week later or a couple of weeks later, we stop doing that. So I mean, always there is a conversation going on. It's obvious. I mean, they talk about this, like whether to give the chips, how much to give, or else where is the conversation behind closed doors. It's happening, obviously. We just don't know the details, but you can tell from
Correct. Yes.
from
So
the developer.
I'm sure, but see, here's my problem though. That is from a business money standpoint. NVIDIA getting their chips in, they're going to make everybody a lot more money. So that's a business proposition. That is not a regulatory or a humanitarian proposition, right? Because regulating AI has more humanitarian sides to it, right? Because if you talk to a business guy, oh hell no, I'm not doing it. I'm not giving up my trade secrets. I can almost even see maybe companies start doing their own LLMs, right? I mean, why not? Dominate the market, come up with a better LLM that's going to create a more proficient AI model. Okay, it's money and time, right? Money, time, and resources. So I don't know, and I also think local laws and stuff like that are going to blend into their regulatory, and you wind up with a regulatory book, the size of Encyclopedia Britannica, and then it's just basically noise. It doesn't even have. I mean, look what we do to in our own government when we pass bills. I mean, who reads this stuff? I mean, it looks almost purposefully complicated to just so people will pass things. So we're going to wind up with the same situation too. But I will cede to the fact that if it's a humanitarian, I think it'll definitely be a more effective. If global warming's proven to be as detrimental as it is, well, that's live or die, right?
Yes.
So yes. China's not going to get away from global warming not being above their world, right? So that would be something that maybe they would partner with, but I still don't see that regulatory wise. I see that my AI is going to do data. It's going to pass it over to your AI. Your AI is going to do its thing, and we're going to combine the two results type of thing. It's not going to be, I'm going to give you access to my algorithm and my LLMs.
Yes.
And
yes.
You and I go back to the same conversation we had. I think it was in the previous episode. If I'm not willing to showcase the source code, and I'm not even thinking open, right? I'm just thinking get some committee, right, with qualified tech people to review it and let them produce a summary of, or, get a group that says, but nobody trusts anybody. So
yeah, it looks like that ship has sailed. That's how it looks.
Yeah. Correct. But I think a catastrophe. I think if AI decided to grow its own, become its own presence, yeah, of course we're going to regulate now. Now we're all going to jump because it's Terminator.
Are you talking about Skynet?
I am, because
I think I've seen that movie a couple of times since my childhood.
I jokingly, when I did my first presentation on ChatGPT, my opening slide was actually the robot and Terminator, because I was making fun of the fact that people it's going to be like Terminator.
That may be a common enemy, by the way. Just like an example.
Yeah.
Yes, Skynet versus people.
Yeah. Well, if you don't, so
humans versus Skynet.
Well, my concern without regulations, right? So I'm the con guy. I'm like, yeah, hell in a handbasket, man. Just go, do what you got to do. But my issue with even my thought process is, if you don't, like I heard this story that Google did its own AI. It started creating its own language and was talking to other computers in its own language. And now again, I don't know if this is deep fake. I don't know, but this is what I read. And then Google killed the project, killed all the servers, killed the project. But if you get a place like China, let's see where this goes, right? They're a lot more.
Yeah, that was an example, actually. Yeah, to your point. I was talking to someone, and then someone is one of the law firms using AI, and it start making up laws just to just to prove that it's right. And then all of a sudden, yeah, it was in the court, and then the judge is like, "What is this? I've never seen such ruling before. We've been studying this for years." And then they dive deeper. There is no such thing. So AI made it up. So it's gonna be Skynet. I told you so.
Yeah, well, it is, being the guy on the con side of it, it always sits in the back of my head.
We should have regulated before. We are late now.
Yes. Yeah, we are. Well, it's funny because when we did genetics, right, something scared the biology world. When we did genetics and we cloned, did you see how quickly they shut it down?
Yes.
How quickly they're like, no, whoa, hold on, stop. So, because, I don't.
Or they told us they shut it down. We don't know.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did not. But it had a lot more regulatory style conversations about it than AI ever did. AI, if these numbers are right, since the 70s, that's a long time. Everybody thinks AI is within the last 3 to 4 years. And that's just not the truth. It's been running rampant in the last 3, but it's been in development for a very long time. So,
it's just that now we can access it. It's just more accessible, more affordable, literally free, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
Once ChatGPT went out and OpenAI put it out there for free, that was it. And smart move, I'm going to say smart move business-wise, because now they got millions of people. Their algorithm is growing, right? Because machine learning is just going to learn more and more, and it's getting better and better. I mean, look at some of these deep fake videos you see now, right? It used to be you'd see jaggedness in the face. The movements of the body were kind of slow, kind of cartoonish. Now, oh my gosh, you see some of these, like, I love the funny ones where they'll take, Bob Ross, the painter, who had that very beautiful personality, mellow, and have him start cursing and beating up someone. And to me, it's hysterical, but I'm looking at him like, well, that's Bob Ross, right? He's not operating in a jagged fashion. And then they stick, so even if you get a real picture of Bob Ross and you got his movements down and you stick a fake AI into the way they interact is pretty seamless to me. So, where do you go with that? And how do you, to me, I've seen a couple of videos that were really good, but they identify themselves as AI. All they're trying to do is showcase their talent, right? So smart move, they showcase the talent and they put that it's AI. But I'm looking at it going, well, if somebody put that out there with a highly political thing, then we're not going to know. I mean, it's the old adage that, I don't even know if I can believe what I'm seeing. Put holograms into the whole thing, and
oh my god,
and you start to correct.
We have no idea.
You start to go down that rabbit hole. So, do you think we should attempt, right? So, basically, I'm coming across saying it's almost impossible. But do you think it should at least be an attempt?
It should be. There should be an attempt, at least to find the common ground, at least on a humanitarian level, to your point.
Yeah.
And see at least at a minimum where we can actually have a common ground to support some sort of regulation.
You said it before, and I kind of agreed with you. The cat's out of the bag, right? We are so far down in years of development in this that, and the money train has already started, right? So there's a huge financial gain, not only for the people inventing it, but for the people utilizing it. That,
yes,
we talked about, slowing it down, right? I'm all for slowing it down. I think it's moving, and I'm the con guy. I think it's moving way too fast at a pace that's just, because my fear is I can't even talk regulation because you guys we're so far down the rabbit hole that when you mention regulation, they laugh at you. And then you're going to get, I'll get the IBMs, the Microsofts, and the big boys will send a player to the table a delegate, and basically the delegate has no power, has no authority, has nothing. So it's guys like, it'll be like you and me. They'll be sitting on Zoom calls talking regulation, and they'll get some regulatory act about human trafficking. Great, love it. You guys hit the nail on that. But can we go deeper into this? And the answer is going to be hell no. Right? So we had this conversation last time talking about how the United States government it put it to the FCC, and then the FCC is like, yeah, so for our first attempt, we're going to try to understand human trafficking. And I'm like, okay, good, because it tugs on the heartstrings. But I'm like, you guys are really going for the roots here. You're not going for the top. You're what it seemed like was more placating those people in political arenas that say, "Ooh, AI is scary," so they'll say, "Well, we're looking into regulating," and human trafficking is there. And I'm not saying human trafficking is a bad place to start, but I'm saying that's a very low-hanging fruit, considering where they're going now. And on top of that, if a quantum chip comes in the next 3 to 4 years, the compute power.
Yes.
I mean, you know how
the super intelligence. Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
So those LLMs are going to work at a much more proficient rate, meaning a lot more understanding. And it's weird because the Skynet conversation, if you really start to, without going into the panic mode, you start to think of how an LLM could gather all this information and do exactly what we see these things do between Skynet, iRobot. In iRobot, the main computer basically said, "You idiots can't take care of yourselves. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to take care of you." Right. So if you look at human history, it's really not a good history, right? We just kill one another. We do whatever the hell we want. We war, and for a entity or an understanding that doesn't create wars, there's no understanding of it, right? So it's one thing to say, judge that. It's another thing to partake, right? So if AI has never partaked in it, it's just going by data, and that and it's just doing analytics. So it's saying they've done this. They're a violent world, and in iRobot, the computer had the robot kill someone, and I'm like, God. Well, why didn't the computer think that was a bad thing? You know what I'm saying? So it was like this weird logistic, but I bring it up because you put quantum processing, you start getting the technology to rapidly, these LLMs are going to grow very fast, right?
That's their job. No doubt. Absolutely. So absolutely. And that was that conversation the other day on CNN. So right now the LLMs, they are describing as the level of college student. So before it was like junior high,
right,
or high school level, student level LLMs. Now it's in a level of college student. So it just keeps improving. It just gets better, faster.
Well, what about that? What was it about the chess playing? That they're estimating that if you do it the right way, no human will ever be able to beat an AI machine at chess.
Wow!
Right?
I can't believe it.
Well, I mean, you think about it, right? Yeah,
but it's possible. Yes.
Because if you think about it, AI can only understand emotion. I don't think it could physically feel emotion. So emotion comes out of the conversation. So when AI is losing, all it's going to do is create more algorithms, more moves to figure out how do I best. So it's not, whereas a human, the moment I start losing, heart rate goes up, my mind takes over. If I'm not very good in stressful situations, I start to fall apart in my game showcases.
Yes. And there are cases that way. The competitors, chess masters. So there are a lot of psychological games that they play against each other, right? To get the upper hand.
Do you ever watch Texas Hold'em on ESPN? It's all a psychological game. These guys are just all trying to psychologically analyze each other to a point where they wear these dark sunglasses So you can't see where I'm looking, and you can't see my eyes, which then, the eyes are the windows to the soul. So I'm like, this is insane. But yes, it happens. We do it.
So to your point, AI has no emotions, right? Can understand the emotion, but cannot feel it.
Correct.
So
it can define it, and it
yeah.
can. Listen, I think AI could write a very romantic poem, right, or romantic letter. It could write one, but it's writing.
Doesn't mean it.
No.
That's for sure.
Do you love me? Yes, I love you dearly. No, you don't.
You know how positive it is in general. I'm glad you asked that, Kevin. It's a great approach. It's very productive. Yeah, I love your constructive.
The first time it said that's a great point, I felt. No, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt a level of, oh wow, I kind of agree. Oh, I think so, and I'm like, what the hell, dude? It's just an algorithm that just told you great question.
But the very first time, right? It lifts you up a little bit. You're like, okay, I asked a great question.
100%. I asked a great question.
And then you get the same answer 100 times. You're like, oh, what is going on here?
Yes.
I ask a dumb question, and you say it's a great question. I know it's a dumb question.
You're like, I'm gonna be an asshole now. That's it. I'm gonna be an idiot. Let's see what it does. Oh, it said great question. Okay.
By the way, you suck.
Holy cow. Oh, man,
and you're like, that is the answer I've been waiting for. I suck. Thank you for being real.
I'm waiting for ChatGPT to say to me, you suck. Okay, moron. Could you rephrase that differently?
Thank you. Now let's address that.
Okay, just across the screen comes, are you kidding? With 4 question marks.
It's so funny.
So I think we're at an impasse on this one, because I don't think, I think we both agree that and I'm agreeing with you in that you got to at least try, right?
Yeah, we gotta attempt. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm of the mindset that I want to be able to say I tried.
Right? Yeah, I mean, so at least on a human level, level, we all have families. We all have parents. We all have children, right? So, any parent, all the parents are worried about their children, right? They always wish the best for them. They do their best to keep them safe, make sure they can they'll have a good life, right? This is universal. This part is regardless of where you are in the world, right? So at least from this point of view, like the human point of view, the importance of the family point of view, then at least we should give it a try.
Yeah, I agree, but unfortunately,
at a minimum, where we can find the common ground.
Yeah, but I think the people making the decisions, I'm not sure how much family comes into that conversation.
That's true. But we'll see. It remains to be seen.
But I agree with you. I think, to round up this whole series, right? This is a perfect, sort of end conversation to have about it. In that, if we don't try, then iRobot, War Games, and Terminator
coming up, yep,
could be right, a very big possibility, right? Because
that's why regulate. That's why. If you don't believe me, watch Terminator.
Yeah, well, even in the 80s, War Games, right? With Michael.
Yeah. You're talking about 80s. Can you believe it? It's unbelievable how realistic it is now. Now it's more realistic.
Correct. So when I saw it in the 80s, I thought, cool concept, never happened, right? We're never going to get computers to do this. Computer will never be associated with firing a war missile. And here we are with AI.
45 years later, there you go. Yeah. Who knew?
You could easily, if some guy in the Defense Department says, I'm trying to cut costs,
Scary.
And, we'll put it in. We'll put some fail safes in there, so you put the fail safes, but if the AI can read any code, you don't think it's going to understand where the fail safes are, and if it needs to adjust them, it can. That type of thing. So we're at 45, so I think we're good here. But I love the way you ended it, because I do think that's a thing we have to do. We have to at least try to do this, and I'm hoping that people start at least thinking along those lines.
I'm with you
All right.
100%.
Yep.
Anthony, thank you very much. Well, to our audience,
Thank
to our
you for
audience,
joining us.
thank you for
Again,
listening.
Any comments, please, because Kevin and I would love to take some of the comments and then do an episode on your comments. Just what are people saying? What are people doing? So please,
Absolutely.
if you can, throw some comments out there, and Kevin and I will take a look at them.
Yes, we are looking forward to hearing from you. I have the QR code on the screen. You can scan it. It will take you to our YouTube channel.
Awesome.
You can subscribe, support us, please. And if you feel more generous, please put your comments in the chat box. Tell us what you think, just like Anthony mentioned. So we'd love to hear from you. We put this together for you, right? So in that sense, hearing from you is critical for us.
Correct.
Thank you very much for your support, and thank you for listening.
It can't be you and I talking every episode.
Yeah, we need some guests coming up.
Yes, we will definitely. Yes, guests are coming. Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.